Although saturated fatty acids increase low density lipoprotein cholesterol, in most individuals, this is not due to increasing levels of small, dense LDL particles, but rather larger LDL, which are much less strongly related to CVD risk.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan, and on this channel I discuss all things keto, carnivore, low carb, provide tips and tricks to help you get your health back on track, as well as sprinkle in some grocery hauls and full days of eating. So again, if you're new, please consider subscribing down below and give this video a thumbs up if you're excited for the content that is coming. Obviously, you can tell now by the intro that we are going to be going over the, I'll call it, bombshell of a study released by the American College of Cardiology regarding saturated fats and their vanishing, non-existent effect on things like heart disease and mortality. So going to take some clips from other podcasts, share them with you, hear the information straight from the sources, and then we're going to do some just general quick Google searches, things you can find both in the mainstream and not regarding information on saturated fats and why they're likely beneficial for your health. So again, if you're excited for the content, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and now let's get into it. Alright, let me first say that I personally believe you can eat carbohydrates and be healthy. What would that look like for me? If I ate carbohydrates, I would make sure that I ate real food. I think that is the key to being healthy long term. So I'll give you a few keys of mine and what I think will help me and my longevity throughout life and maintaining my health, and that will be eating real food, focus on carbohydrate restriction, meaning I'm not eating carbohydrates all day long, thus having my insulin spike and insulin roller coaster. So if I am going to have carbohydrates, I'm maybe allocating them to the back end of my day or around exercise. My carbohydrate frequency needs to be low, generally around 1 time a day at most. For me, I don't generally do that. I live a carnivorous and or ketogenic lifestyle, and I switch those as I see fit throughout the week or even throughout the day. So again, diet-wise, eat real food, carbohydrate frequency, keep it to a minimum, and focus on protein. Protein and nutrients tend to come hand in hand. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the mainstream alternative to saturated fats, which are these vegetable oil polyunsaturated industrialized fats like Crisco. Crisco originated in the 20s, crystallized cottonseed oil, condense that name, Crisco, and in the 40s, they actually funded the American Heart Association, which was a small entity at that point in time, through a Procter & Gamble radio show charity giveaway thing they did. Over $10 million from what I can find. They funded the AHA to support their theory that these partially hydrogenated, industrialized, processed cottonseed oils were better for human consumption and more heart healthy than true saturated fats. Again, this comes back to my first point. Eat real food. Know what your food is, where it comes from, where it's made, how it's made, and then you can really judge what real food is. So this cottonseed oil derived from cottonseed left over from the production of cotton, which is oddly enough now approved by the USDA as a safe food for human consumption. What do you know? Think there's any conflict of interest there coming from Procter & Gamble potentially? Probably. But either way, they were able to create a bleaching and deodorizing process to get rid of the disgusting odor that came from these leftover cotton seeds, as well as make it white in color to be more similar, resembling lard when stable at room temperature. Hence, cottonseed oil was born, and through this industrialized process, and forced out to the market through great marketing campaigns in order to make the public think that they were doing their heart a favor by eating this garbage. Now, this likely won't get headlines on ABC, NBC, CNN, and the like, because it just doesn't fit the overall narrative that has been forced down our throats for the last 70 years. But again, you can find the information if you want to, and we're going to go over some of it today. So again, give this video a like if you're enjoying the video so far. Let's get into a little more information. Okay, so here you can see I'm typing saturated fats in the diet just into Google, doing a quick Google search, and the top link that comes up is, of course, a Harvard College of Health website pulling up things regarding saturated fat. And one of the main things it says, as we get into it there, is saturated fats and heart disease, right? So a diet rich in saturated fats can drive up total cholesterol and tip the balance more toward harmful LDL cholesterol, which prompts blockages to form in the arteries. For that reason, nutrition experts recommend limiting saturated fat to under 10% of calories for the day. It then goes on to say, a handful of recent reports muddied the link between saturated fat and heart disease. A meta-analysis concluded that saturated fat increases the risk of heart disease. Placing saturated fat with polyunsaturated fats like vegetable oils or high-fiber carbohydrates is the best bet for reducing the risk of heart disease. Now that you've seen some of the quick, easy data I'm able to find and I was able to share with you, let's real quick listen in to the Dr. Saladino and Nina Teicholz clip of their podcast, Fundamental Health Podcast.
Significant because it reviews all the evidence on saturated fats. It's not the first time that's been done. There are nearly 20 other review papers of the data on saturated fats, all of which conclude that saturated fats, or almost all of which conclude that saturated fats have no effect on cardiovascular mortality or total mortality. But this paper not only does that, but it is unique in that the scientists are the authors are very prominent scientists. They're what those of us would call on the outskirts of this field, mainstream scientists at mainstream institutions, and they are also, they include somebody who was on the Dietary Guideline Committee in 2015 and was on the panel that reviewed, the subcommittee that reviewed saturated fats, saying that the evidence against saturated fats was strong. And it includes the 2005 chair of the Dietary Guideline Committee. So that may not seem important, but I mean, these are basically the people at the apex of government policy who'd been appointed to these top committees saying, we now think we got it wrong. And that is very significant because it's very different than you or me saying we got it wrong. Whatever we believe, we don't believe anymore. I mean, we're not, illustrious experts in the field, but these people are.
They've taken cholesterol as a nutrient of concern off of the dangerous list the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee did in 2015. Now, unfortunately, this meta-analysis came out a little too late to influence the 2020 guidelines to 2025, which has basically stayed the same. And it's kind of unfortunate. Saturated fat is still limited. We're still supposed to be eating 60% of our calories from carbohydrates. And as we've seen for the last 50 years, that is not doing the world or this country any good. So challenge your dogmas, challenge your bias, challenge your preconceived notions about what a healthy diet really is. Think about real foods and what those look like and what that macronutrient breakdown is. And for a lot of people, that's a mix of everything. But again, if you eat real foods, you're likely going to be okay. That is my take on saturated fat, as well as providing some information to you also. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. A lot of you are watching, and a lot of you are not subscribed to my channel, so I don't know what's going on. You need to click the red subscribe button down below and turn on bells. So again, I'm putting some more effort into these videos lately. I hope you can tell. I hope it shows. And we're going to continue to challenge ourselves to get better. So thank you for sticking around. Until the next time, keep up the good work, and let's get healthy together.